Good evening, Chicago. Welcome on in. It is Monday night. You know what that means. It is time for Chi-Town Weekly. We have got a ton of stuff to go through. The Sox put a whooping on the Cubs this weekend out at Wrigley Field to start the first leg of the Crosstown Cup series. I can't believe that they're still actually playing for a cup. I would have thought that marketing idea would have just died already by now. And of course, we'll have lots of Bears conversation for training camp, getting ready for their first preseason game coming up this weekend. Our first chance to get to look at Justin Fields. And who in the world is going to be playing on the offensive line? I don't know if the Bears can answer that question at this point. You look up and down the roster, and everybody's hurt on that offensive line. And then this show has hit a milestone. 50 episodes today. It was a year ago this week that I started talking into this microphone onto these airwaves here at IE Sports Radio. I cannot believe how much the time has flown and how much that has happened in the sports world in that time. We are going to celebrate. I'm turning things over to you guys, the listeners, for a little bit for that series. You guys get a chance to ask me questions, and we'll see what we think about them. All that and more coming up on Chi-Town Weekly. Buckling on up. Let's have some fun. And once again, welcome on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. I am so excited that you guys are here to talk sports with me about the best sports town in the U.S. right here in Chicago. 50 episodes. Man, who'd have thought it? 50 episodes of this show. We're gonna have some fun with that later on today with Ask Me Anything, a chance to kind of turn the mic over to the listeners a little bit and give you guys a chance to interact with me a little bit more as we are a year into doing this show. But of course, there's always news and always stuff going on in the world of sports in Chicago. I was thinking about this as we, looking back a year ago, man, there was a ton of everything going on, because not only did you have the baseball season going on, but you had hockey going on. The Blackhawks were actually active in the playoffs this time a year ago, and the NBA bubble was going on, even though the Bulls weren't part of it. That was still going on. Plus, you had baseball and NFL training camp going on. This year, we've just got baseball and training camp to talk to, but still all kinds of fun sports news to get through. Before we go any further, though, of course, we cannot go without bringing up our sponsor, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or Facebook, just search Southern California Warriors. And of course, here at IE Sports Radio, we are on all of the major social platforms. You can find us at IE Sports Radio, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, or search up Facebook. Just look IE Sports Radio and you will find us. And then, of course, ways to interact with this show directly if you want to do that. This show is on Twitter at IESRC. And then I personally am on Twitter at Adam_Karnick. And, of course, you can follow along with everything happening in the world of the show, in Chicago sports, and IE Sports Radio on those. If you want to hit me up with a question for Ask Me Anything later, feel free to do that there. You can also do that in the chat room. I see Taryn and Michael are already in there. Good evening, fellas. And already there's some questions popping in there to the show. I will certainly get those. Not keep them coming. I'm not going to be doing those yet. We are going to be getting. We're going to start off with some of the news of the past weekend. But at the same time, if you are listening live here on Spreaker, feel free. Jump on into the chat room. Log on in. That's free. There's no cost or anything like that. And then we can interact with each other that way. So the Crosstown Cup series kicked off this weekend. That is the corporate tie-in to the Cubs-White Sox series. I for the life of me, I am shocked that they actually have a cup and they still give it to the winning team. You have to win. You either have to win 4 of the 6 games of the series, or you have to just win the last game. In case of a tie, if they each win 3 games, then whichever team won the last game won the cup. Why? This is professional. I'd understand, okay, if it's college, if this was Northwestern Illinois, or if this was Notre Dame and Indiana or something like that. Sure, then yeah, have a cup, have some fun with it. We really still need to do these little things in pro sports, really? Does that add anything to the rivalry? I've never once heard a player truly, honestly get excited about winning the Crosstown Cup. I don't know, maybe I'm just missing it, but whatever. The Sox are almost certainly going to win it this year, and thanks to their sweep of the Cubs over the weekend. Took extra innings on Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon. Carlos Rodon was absolutely on fire. 11 strikeouts over 5 innings of work. He was on pace to get 21 strikeouts had he pitched the whole game. But the beauty of that was they got out to a lead. You've got this terrific bullpen. If there is a disadvantage to getting all those strikeouts, is it does use a lot of pitches. Rodon had thrown 89 pitches already through 5 innings, and they had a lead. Why risk it? You get him out of there. The Sox are the arrow is clearly pointing towards October for the White Sox at this point. They've now got a 10.5 game lead on Cleveland for first place in the division. They don't need to worry about making sure that they get the most out of every single pitcher every single night or day out there. Get him qualified for the win, get the lead, turn it over to the bullpen. It was interesting on Friday to get to see Craig Kimbrell come out there and have his first taste of coming back to the Cubs after the trade, and Wrigley gave him a wonderful ovation, and everything was very touching and exactly how you would expect it to be. And then Kimbrell returned the favor by promptly giving up 3 runs. Andrew Romine hit that home run. You thought, oh my gosh, the Cubs might come back and win this. The Sox had been struggling a bit out of the All-Star break. Coming into that series, they were just 9. They had won just 9 out of their last 20 games. So you kind of wondered, oh boy, might this blow up in the Sox face a little bit? Are they going to drop a game that they shouldn't drop? But not to fear. Brian Goodwin then came out and did what Brian Goodwin needed to do, and the Sox locked it down. And then last night on national television, Tim Anderson, I loved that Tim Anderson was not supposed to be in the lineup last night. Tim Anderson was supposed to have the day off. Anderson then talked his way into, no. Put me out there, coach. I want to play in this one. Sure, so he gets inserted, not only inserted into the lineup, inserted into the leadoff spot. First pitch he sees into the bleachers and right. It's 1-0 White Sox right out of the gate. And then Eloy Jimenez said, I love playing here at Wrigley Field. Cubs, you should not have traded me. I would have loved to have played I would have loved to have played half my season in this ballpark. 2 home runs in the game last night. The Sox had 3 home runs in the first inning against Zach Davies last night. Davies was serving up batting practice to start the game, and the Sox did what they should be doing against bad teams like the Cubs are at this point, and jumped out to a big lead, 7-0, and then just coast through the rest of the night, coast through the rest of the game, sweep the series, sweep the Cubs, and now they're getting ready to face the Twins tonight up in Minnesota. AJ, I if you're listening, I feel bad for you. AJ is the host of our Frozen Takes show on Thursday nights, talking about Minnesota sports. I wouldn't blame you, AJ, if you decide not to tune in to this series the next few nights. The Sox are gonna take care of business, I think, up in Minnesota. Giolito's going tonight, but that's not the big story of what's happening tonight. Luis Robert is back in the lineup tonight for the Sox. After missing several months with a leg injury, he's back patrolling center field, batting 7th tonight for the Sox and playing center field for the first time since last year's playoff series in Oakland. The Sox have Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert back on the field at the same time. Tim Anderson's hitting well. Yoan Moncada is swinging a good bat. The Sox have fixed the bullpen on the fly. This team is looking scary. 20 games over 500. Yes, Taryn, the AL Central is certainly on lock for the White Sox. They are going to clinch this division. And looking at it too, just looking at their schedule, they've got the Field of Dreams series coming up after playing the Twins. They then head out to Iowa Wednesday night to play the Yankees in the Field of Dreams game. You remember that was supposed to be last season, but then of course pandemic happened and all that stuff went down. So that is instead this year. They play Thursday out in Iowa, then get an off day, a rare Friday off day while both teams travel back from Iowa to play in Chicago for the weekend. Once they get through this week, you get past the Twins, you've got the Yankees, you've got the A's, you've got the Rays. They've got this stretch in the American League East, and then the Blue Jays after that, where they're gonna get tested a little bit. Then they've got the Cubs again. Then they've got the Pirates. Then they've got the Royals again. They hit a stretch where they've only got a couple more series where they're really going to be tested. It's going to be interesting to see just what the Sox look like. They should, by mid-September, they should be in a point where they're just, okay, we're setting up the rotation. We're setting up the lineup. We're making sure that everybody's staying healthy, getting their swings and at-bats, but that nobody's getting overtaxed or overworked getting up. Definitely a far cry from what's happening with the Cubs. The Cubs are you're just looking to see what can stick at this point with the Cubs. So they've got a series starting tonight against Milwaukee. That's not going to go well. It's just not going to end well for the Cubs at all. It's 4 games against the Brew Crew. yeah, that's not going to be pretty, not going to look good. But, that's the Cubs made the decision to sell, and that's now what's going to happen with them. So that's just where they're at. I've seen it a lot. You saw just last night, you just saw how badly the Cubs got beaten up by the Sox in the Jose Quintana deal, sending both Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease over to the White Sox. Man, either one of those guys probably would have been a fair price to pay to get Jose Quintana, especially considering what the Cubs ultimately got out of Quintana, which wasn't all that great. Instead, you gave up both. It's a hard reality, I'm sure, for the Cubs to be looking at and seeing both those guys. And, man, we had both those guys in our system. We could use both of them. Either one of them right now would be a big help and a big boost. But, that's life for the Cubs right now, and that's just what they're going to be. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to celebrate a little bit. We're going to have some fun. Ask me anything. I mean it. Ask me anything. It can be a sports question. It can be a food question. It can be anything you want. Honest, obviously, I'm not going to tell you my home address or my bank account information or things like that. But let's have some fun. Throw your questions at me. Get them in the chat. Get them into Twitter at Adam_Karnik at IESRC. Let's have some fun. I want to turn things over to you, the listener. Let's interact and have some fun a bit. It's episode 50 of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Hi everybody, it's Calvin here from USRN, here to give you an important message. Since 2017, we have done our absolute best to provide you with nothing but the highest quality of sports calls in the greatest of quantity possible. Thanks to you, our station has grown more than we ever thought. That's why, with your help, we would like to grow even further. Just think, twice the amount of your favorite calls, 24 hours of coverage, talk shows, play-by-play, game-by-game analysis, and so much more. That's right, USRN2 is officially in development, but we can't do it alone. We have set up a GoFundMe page that you can access from our homepage on the left of your screen. We also are planning special giveaways and prizes to our highest owners. Our goal here at USRN is to bring you the best calls possible at no cost to you. In order to continue to do that, we need your help now. Please check out our GoFundMe page, and if you would like to know how you can help, you can email usrnradio@gmail.com. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Soccer Scoreboard Show with your host, Gabriel Montoya. This is the show for soccer, football fans, or whatever you call the beautiful game. Every week, I tackle the latest and greatest news from around the soccer world. From the English Premier League, to the World Cup, to MLS, Liga MX, and more. You can listen to the Soccer Scoreboard Show and our lineup of fantastic guests every Friday at noon here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm a little nervous as we get into this segment. This is episode 50 of Chi-Town Weekly. I can't believe that it's been a year already. It kind of started dawning on me about 5 or 6 weeks ago that, oh man, I'm typing up episode numbers in the 40s. That means number 50 is coming up. That means, yeah, I'm coming up on a year of doing this. And I've missed a couple weeks throughout the year, and then I looked at the calendar and realized that, oh yeah, this is basically the 1 year anniversary of doing the show. It was right about this time a year ago that I started doing it. So I want to do something fun, and the thing that I came up with was to hand over the reins a little bit. I like interacting with listeners and the guys in the chat line and things like that. So it was, well, let's do that a little bit. So now I have a chance to turn the reins over to you guys a little bit. Ask me anything. I've got some questions already, and it can be anything. It can be sports related. It can be not sports related. We've got some good questions on both, and we'll get started here. The one I want to do first, Matt Garner tweeted at the show earlier this afternoon. You might remember Matt. He was on back in March, breaking down the March Madness tournament right before everything started there with it. He wanted to know, the Cubs have 49 games left in the season. What's my prediction of how many they'll win in that span? He sets the over-under at 16.5 wins. I'm going to take the over just slightly. To only have 16 wins, 16-33, that's a lot of losing overall. And you take a look at some of the matchups that the Cubs have left, they've got quite a few series left on their schedule that are against mediocre to bad teams. They've got a series against the Marlins. They play the Reds and the Royals coming up later this month. They've still got the Rockies and the Twins and a few more series against the Pirates. Yes, they've got some stretches against tough teams. I mean, they've got 2 more series against the Brewers where they're going to get their brains bashed in. They've got the Giants coming into town. Chris Bryant's going to be coming back to Wrigley. That's going to be hard. That's going to be so hard. They've got the Phillies coming up. They've got some tough series, but overall, I think the Cubs, I see them right around the 20 win mark, like 20-29 or 21-28, going through the rest of the season. They'll about 7-9 games under 500, something like that. Taryn asked right at the top of the show. Taryn wanted to know, and he recently celebrated his 100th episode of Set Point. So congratulations to you, Taryn, on that. He did Set Point earlier today. Normally he'd do it right after us, but he had a guest on, so he had it on earlier this afternoon. Taryn wants to know, what's the best pizza place in Chicago? Yes, all of them. I encounter them all. I have yet to have a bad pie in Chicago. My first introduction to deep dish pizza, what a lot of people think of as Chicago style pizza, the deep dish pizza, was as a kid coming into town and going to Uno's. Fantastic stuff. Then when I was in college, I went to college out in the Oak Park River Forest area, which is about 12 miles due west of downtown. And there was a Giordano's not 5 minutes down the road. Oh, that was move-in day, get everything undone, get everything unpacked, get everything set up, and then go down and order a pie. Oh my gosh, that was good. Lou Malnati's is fantastic. And then in tour, when we would get done playing, going around wherever we were in college as part of the college band and playing in different cities, we would always finish with our home concert. And when we were done with that, we would go to various pizza joints throughout the city and get some. So honestly, too many for me to try and remember off the top of my head, but any place. And especially if you're visiting Chicago, obviously deep dish is great to get, and that's what you think of. But deep dish it's its whole unique animal on pizza. And for some it can be a little bit intimidating. Don't be scared. There's more to Chicago-style pizza than just deep dish. We've also got the square cut pizza, which is, you just take what you'd think of as a traditional pizza pie, but instead of cutting it into triangles, you're cutting it into squares. Fantastic, awesome, still Chicago, still authentic. You're still getting just all the things that make a great Chicago pie. So don't feel like you must get a deep dish in order to get Chicago-style pizza. You can get great, authentic Chicago pizza without having to dive into the world of deep dish, because deep dish is a different animal. But I love pizza in general. So to get a pizza question, thank you, Taryn. I love getting pizza questions in there. Back to Twitter for a second, and then getting back to sports. Our old friend Dave Donacio, you might remember him from the old Kansas City Shuffle. He was a guest before the Super Bowl, giving us a preview there. He wants to know about Justin Fields. When will Fields take over as the starter? And assuming the front office keeps supplying him with the current level of offensive talent, how would you project his production over the next 3 years? We're obviously going to get a much clearer picture of Justin after the preseason game this Saturday. But by all accounts, he's ready to get out there. He is ready to be the guy right now. The Bears are still adamant that no. It's still going to be Andy Dalton. That we're still going to stick with Dalton. But Fields, shortly after training camp started, he talked about they asked him, what's the hardest thing, and he said it's literally calling the plays in the huddle because I've never done that before. He then, within a couple of days, he had that figured out. He had that down. The Bears were off today from practice. I'm going to talk about them a little bit more in the next segment, go a little bit more in depth on the Bears. They had the day off today. But over the weekend, I think it was yesterday at practice, he made a play where everything broke down. The pass rush got through in an 11 on 11 drill. The offensive line crumbled. He had to break the pocket. He rolled out to his left, kept his eyes up downfield the whole time, and he did the patented Patrick Mahomes sidearm throw and threw the receiver open in the back of the end zone on a dime, never planted his feet, but got his upper body set so he could make the throw properly and correctly, and it was right on the money for a touchdown. I think I said it a few weeks ago. I kind of set the calendar dates of when to expect Justin Fields. One of them I know was when the Monday night game against the Steelers, right before their bye week, so week 9. I'd be shocked if it takes that long now. I think that is absolutely the latest it takes for him to get in. I think anymore, I think at the most Andy Dalton starts 4 games this season. At the most. I would not be surprised at all to see Justin Fields start week 1 against the Rams on Sunday Night Football and be just the second Bears rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl era to start week 1 and be the first guy since Kyle Orton did it about 16 years ago, back in 2005. Would not shock me at all. As far as his production for the next 3 years, I honestly, and I'm trying very hard to not just be a gushing meatball homer fan when I say this. I think he's going to be the best quarterback we've ever seen in Chicago. Admittedly, that's not the highest bar, but I truly think that this guy, assuming health, is going to be one of the quarterbacks in the NFL, that he's going to be one of the guys that just gets talked about week in, week out, and is going to be one of those candidates to make the Pro Bowl every year, be in the MVP discussion, be that kind of player, be the generational quarterback that we have never, ever seen with the Bears. So I'm so excited to see what Justin Fields can do. All right, next question. Mike Hendrickson from the chat line, he wanted to know which Chicago team will be the next champion. Right now, the odds would point towards the White Sox. I think their window is the biggest, is the brightest, is the closest at this point. They would be the team right now. I could see them winning the championship this October. They're set up for it. They've got their big bats in the lineup now, thanks to Jimenez and Robert coming back healthy. They're getting tremendous production still from Tim Anderson. They're getting just production everywhere from around the lineup, even though they've had to mix and match with so many guys from the minor league farm system that have gotten rushed into service this season. They still are producing. That starting rotation, especially the top three with Giolito, Lance Lynn, and Carlos Rodon, is just being so effective and so good. If not the White Sox, for the major teams, probably the next one you're looking at is probably the Bears, thanks to Justin Fields. But there's a big drop-off there. The White Sox have the potential here, if they can do it, to kind of take hold. I mean, the Bears are always going to be the kings because it's the NFL, but the White Sox have an opportunity here to kind of take a grip on the city for a little bit if they can play their cards right and get enough wins in there. Let's see. Another question here. My favorite non-pizza... I love food questions. Your favorite non-pizza food to eat during the Super Bowl? Wings. My wife found an amazing wing recipe before... I think it was a couple Super... I forget exactly when we found it. But we try to find some new ways to do wings when we get ready for the Super Bowl. And my wife found a fantastic one. I think it was a couple Super Bowls ago. That is a dry rub, and then also after roasting them in the oven, you put a bourbon barbecue glaze on top of them, and they are just phenomenally good. So wings are always a good choice. Can't go wrong with nachos too. Super Bowl. We're gonna be doing an episode here. We're gonna be doing a theme coming up a little bit here later this month at IE Sports, where we're all gonna be talking about some of our different foods that we like to eat during sporting events. A little preview of that, a little sampler, if you will. I love if I'm sitting at home, stuff that I can just get into with my fingers. Finger food is always a good one to me, and especially for the Super Bowl. Things like buffalo wings or wings are always a good one there. Let's see. Mike also asked. We know, most people know that Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Tom Brady, they are the GOATs of their sports. But who do I consider the GOAT of baseball to be? Mike Trout. Mike Trout's the first guy that comes to mind for me. And Taryn, being SoCal sports, he can tell you a lot more about Trout than I can. But simply, you look at the... He's been in the league now 11 seasons. He has been a 9-time All-Star. He's been a league MVP 3 times. He has been... he's won accolades for his defense, too. He plays an unbelievable center field. He has tremendous range out there. He's got an OPS, a career OPS of just over 1,000, 1,002 for his OPS career, a career OPS plus of 175. Remember, 100 is average for OPS plus, so a OPS plus of 175. His offensive numbers are just off the chart. And then you look at him overall. I'm at Fangraph's website. He's got a career WAR of 78. That's wins above replacement. I mean, it's just basically by himself as an individual player in his 11-year career, he himself has won 78 games as a Major League Baseball player. He's just tremendous. The only unfortunate thing with Trout is he does wind up on the injured list a lot. He's on there right now, but he's got to be the GOAT to me. And he's playing right now. If you get a chance to watch him, watch Mike Trout. Shane is in the chat, and boy, here's a loaded question if I ever heard one. Some context. Shane and I are in a fantasy football league together. Shane has dragged me into the wonderful world of fantasy football. Who is the best fantasy football competitor I have ever played against? I know who you want me to say, Shane, because I know you've won our league a couple of times. A guy that I have gone against, though, is a colleague of mine from work who is an assassin that just comes out of nowhere and at the last second just comes in and starts sniping victories and goes from being almost eliminated from the playoffs to winning the championship. He's a sneaky dude in there. I've played against several people in my work league. Have been quite fun to play with that way. Lots of different people. Fantasy football. If you're not a fantasy football player, give it a try. Just have some fun with it. Dip your toe in a little bit and see if you get hooked. It is fun. It forces you to pay attention to, of course, all the teams, all the league, but it is fun. Another one from Mike Hendrickson here. What's my dream sports event I would like to go to? Oh, Super Bowl, hands down. Hands down the Super Bowl. Just to get to go to that. Talk about a culmination and a celebration of football. That would be if you're talking a big, just 1 day event, Super Bowl's got to be the one for me to get to. Talked about it actually with Shane. We've talked about going at different times and when it's been close enough. If Chicago doesn't, if the Bears do build a new stadium out there in Arlington Heights and they do get the opportunity to host a Super Bowl, which they would, assuming they're smart enough to put a dome on top of it, it'd be worth looking into to get to. I would be definitely looking into going to there to that. Taryn asks, who is your favorite team to secretly root for if a Chicago team isn't doing well? Well, in the world of the NFL, my second favorite team is always whoever's playing the Packers. So that's always a go-to. Whomever the Packers are playing against, that's always going to be somebody I'm gonna root for that team. Secretly root for if a Chicago team isn't doing well. My wife is originally from Minnesota, so I try to keep track of some of the Minnesota teams for her. So that involves keeping track of the Twins a bit more than I do some other teams. Means keeping an eye on the Wild. I don't know that I have one team that I'll necessarily root for if my Chicago teams aren't doing well. I've learned over the years, I've gotten a lot better at this over the years, of if they're not doing well, if one of the Chicago teams isn't doing well, to kind of just take a step back and be a little more dispassionate and just observe at a macro level as opposed to a micro level, and learn to not live and die with every pitch or every drop of the puck or every time the ball gets tipped, or et cetera, for the appropriate sport. Mike's got one here. I think this will probably be the last one. Keep them coming. Let's see. Keep them coming. Oh, we can, depending on, we might take one or two more here, all things depending. But Mike asks, what have I learned the most from doing the show over the last year of doing the show? Prep work. prep work. I try to map out the show during the course of the week. Keep an eye on what's happening, what's relevant, and hey, that's something I'd want to talk about. But also learning to keep an eye on what's coming up so that I can put in the amount of homework that I want to do to make the show successful, so that, oh, hey, the Chicago Sky, the WNBA season is tipping off here in a couple weeks. I better get boned up on and get up to speed on what's going on with the Sky. And then, having Anna Lee on here to help talk about that. Or, the trade deadline's coming up. I better be prepared for that and who's getting ready to move. Or, oh, hey, Selection Sunday's coming up. I better be ready and get things lined up. So that's probably the thing I've learned the most, is to be prepped. You can never do too much prep work getting ready to do a show. One more here, and then we're going to take a break. So Shane, you get the last question. If a pair of twins were to play fantasy football against him, who would win, Shane or Ditka? A certain Coach Ditka. Ditka. When in doubt, the right answer is always Ditka. All right, that was fun. Thanks, guys, for throwing the questions at me. That was kind of fun. We might keep that in mind here for another time down the road. All right, we are going to take one more quick break, and then I want to talk some more about the Bears and how they're looking at training camp and why in the world they are losing all of their offensive linemen. That and more here on Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Law.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hear me and hear me good. If you like sports, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like comedy, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like a different opinion coming from a different angle, then you like the Wait a Minute Show.
So join me Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time
with your host, Jelani J.B. Bodie. And of course, my man Lopan
on the WaitAMinuteShow.com.
Ain't that right, Lopan?
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. That was a fun segment there. I was a little nervous about that, but that was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for throwing the questions at me, and hopefully there'll come a time when we're able to do that again and have some more fun with that. All right, we've got one more segment, and then we got to get out of here tonight, because we've got Gina G coming up after us tonight, repping to NorCal Sports, talking about things San Francisco and Oakland, and Chris Bryant. I miss him so much. It hurts. It sucks. Anyway, okay, move on from that. I do want to talk a little bit more about the Bears before getting out of here tonight. I am a little nervous and a little worried. They keep having offensive linemen get hurt. They came in with 15 offensive linemen. They are down to about 7 or 8. Now, they got a few players back. They had some guys out on the COVID restrictions list today. They got all of them back except for Eddie Goldman. Eddie Goldman's still out with COVID, apparently. That ironic and sucks that Eddie Goldman, who sat out last year because of the pandemic to try to avoid getting COVID, comes back and immediately gets COVID. Sucks for him. I hope he has a quick recovery. I am worried about, from this offensive line standpoint, what that should do with Justin Fields. I've heard it both ways. I'm kind of torn at it. On the one hand, traditional thinking would say, oh man, then you got to protect him. Don't put him out there behind a makeshift patchwork offensive line. I mean, the Bears literally have nobody that's played left tackle before. They were supposed to be Tevin Jenkins, the rookie. He still hasn't practiced yet. And then everybody behind him on the depth chart, nobody's actually played left tackle before. So part of me wants to go, then have it be Dalton, have him go out there, have him, because he knows how to protect himself out there. Another part of me goes, no, you need to have your best guys out there on the field at all times, and Fields especially. If you've got an area that's weak, you need your strongest players out in the other spots to try to help balance it out. So part of me just wants to say, no, get him out there anyway. Yes, it's a patchwork offensive line. You can adjust the play calls to try to help protect him a little bit. Run the ball more, for one. Call some shorter passes, do some different things to try to shake the defense up. But especially if Fields is able to make all these ridiculous throws, and by all accounts, he is elevating everybody around him. I mean, guys like Riley Ridley, who have been no-names for the past couple seasons, are making tremendous, fantastic plays out there with the second team because Fields is out there throwing the ball to him. Just having that guy, having the best guy out there on the field can help alleviate some of the pressure on the offensive line, because if he can get the ball out quickly and get the ball on time, on target, teams know that, all right, maybe we can't just all-out bull rush blitz the guy, and you can figure out ways to have success. So I'm of two minds about it with Justin Fields on what to do with him. All right, we got to get out of here because we've got Gina G coming up right after us, as I mentioned, with Reppin' to NorCal Sports. Before we go, though, I've actually got a show announcement starting next week. I will not be on Monday nights. So if you're listening live, you won't find me on Monday nights anymore. Real world life has altered some things. So starting next week, I'm actually going to be Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock in the East, 7 o'clock out there in the West. That's going to be for the foreseeable future. It might be, we'll see how long it is. It certainly is going to be for the next, I imagine, couple of months anyway. Then we'll see what happens and if we move back or if we stay on that spot. So starting next week, you will find me on Wednesday night at 9 o'clock to tune in and listen then. All right. Thank you to the Southern California Warriors for continuing to sponsor us. Thank you to Larry for all that he does every week in keeping the show and the network active and up and moving along. Thank you to Taryn and to Mike and Shane and Marcus for jumping into the chat. Thank you to Dave Donacho and to Matt for throwing questions at me in the Twitter feed. Thank you guys for continuing to listen. I can't believe it's been 50 episodes already, but it has been fun. It has been a blast. I hope to keep going for at least 50 more and however more after that. Until next week, Wednesday, everybody be safe, be good. We will have actual kind of sort of football tape to break down and talk about. I am so looking forward to it. Until then, we'll see you next week.